Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. My name is Carrie Hunter, and I'm the spiritual director of the center, and it's lovely to have you with us today. If you would like to join us in person, we are now open again at our Cook Street location, 380 Cook Street in Victoria, and we're in the Cook Street Village Activity Center. We'd love to welcome you there. Meanwhile, it's good to have you online. My topic today really surfaced again from a series that I've begun this month, using questions that people have asked me through the years. Some of the tougher questions, most of the time, and the kinds of things that we often think about and mull over in our minds and can't quite get there. So I'm talking about what my spin is on those specific topics. And if you happen to have a pencil handy or a pen and paper and can write something down, please jot down little boy singing, "Don't worry, be happy." That's all you need to know because it's all over the internet. And it's a little boy who's wearing a pink shirt with white stripes on it, and he's singing a song, and I'm absolutely addicted to it. If ever I have a few moments where I'm feeling a little bit gloomy, I just log into that site and listen to that little boy again and watch his beautiful little face. I just want to pick him up and give him a big hug. He's absolutely wonderful. And I'll try to remember to remind you again toward the end of the talk, just in case you didn't quite pick up what I said. But little boy singing, "Don't worry, be happy." In my talk at the center, I will actually be showing that video. So I just wanted to let you know that that's kind of leading into things today. And it leads me into my topic today, which is how can we be happy in an unhappy world? Certainly the world around us has not been a joyful place for the last couple of years. And I can remember when we first had to close down because of COVID. It was a year ago in March. And I just thought, well, by fall, everything's going to be fine. It'll all be gone. We're not going to have any more of this stuff going on. And we opened again in July, which was wonderful. But come November, mid-November, we had to close again, as did many, many businesses. We were locked down because of the spread of this terrible disease that has ravaged this planet. And it was 9 months that we were locked down this last time. I couldn't believe it when I started to figure it out. And then I realized it really was a long time ago. And that first Sunday to be back in person with everyone was so exciting and so joyful. And it felt like such an amazing celebration. It was like emerging from a cocoon of darkness, suddenly feeling as if we're flying freely like a butterfly out there in the sunshine. And that kind of joy, that kind of happiness that we felt getting together again is something that we really should be cultivating all the time. And it's not always an easy thing to do. I turned on the news on Friday, and that's enough to kind of bring a person right down these days. I was watching the news about wildfires in British Columbia, places being evacuated, and all of the usual things. And it's not that we don't need to know about things, because we do need to know how we can help. I often think of Marianne Williamson, who said that the 6 o'clock news was her prayer list. And I'm somebody who does watch the news, and that is part of my prayer list every day. But it isn't always the happiest place to be when we see what's going on. And, we just really need doses of good news in there as well. And so thinking about that, we need messages of love and kindness and hope and, personal connections and neighborly acts of kindness. I don't know if this is still happening out there in the world. At least I don't know if it's happening where we live or in our country. I wonder if we've become so sophisticated technically that we don't reach out and do those things anymore. I remember when I was a young wife and mother and had lovely neighbors, and we were all there for one another. If one of us was out mowing the lawn in the summer, the lawnmower would just happen over into the next yard as well and do their grass. It was just what we did. It made us feel good. Or we would shovel their walks with covered with snow in the winter time. And if someone was ill, we'd bake a pie or a casserole. I would do that, and people would do the same for me. And I often think about how they were simpler times and more loving times and happier times. It didn't take so much to make us happy. And way back, way back then when my children were small. So I was kind of thinking that it's time for a reboot, rebooting into a happier place. And what we need to do is to ask ourselves what makes us truly happy. But also, we need to ask ourselves, were we happy before? And, were we happy a long time ago, really happy? Or have we just kind of brushed aside some of the trials and tribulations and we're remembering a few happy moments? And there's nothing wrong with that for certain. It really helps us today to cultivate a happier attitude about our lives. But before COVID, were we really happy? Certainly, COVID didn't help us at all. When we were isolated, certainly a lot of people, including myself, living alone and and not having that human connection was very, very difficult for a lot of people. And it was difficult for people who were living in relationship. There were more divorces than usual. There was more abuse, more spousal abuse than ever before. Uh, it this this stress really took its toll, and it wasn't just about people living close together 24 hours a day. It was about the stress that came with not having jobs, not having enough money, whatever it happened to be. Life really was put on hold in so many ways, and it created a lot of problems. And for a lot of seniors, it really created problems for them with their memories. They didn't have anybody to talk to visit with. And it's those kinds of things that stimulate our minds. And so there were people whose memories started to fail during that time as well. It was incredibly sad and certainly something that we need to think about in terms of keeping in touch with people that we know, people that we love, even people that we don't know very well, just to make sure that they're okay when we have to go through those difficult times. But it's it's really important too to think about your past. Were you a happy child? Were you just always skipping around with joy in your heart, and nothing could really bring you down? Or were you kind of moody and not always feeling just joyful in your life? It's really an interesting thing to consider because it's I was reading, and I don't even remember where I was reading it, but I was reading somewhere that some of us are born with a happy gene. We're just born happier than other people. I was fortunate enough to be one of those people. I was an incredibly happy child dis- despite what most would say was a terrible childhood. But I just always had joy in my heart. And I can remember as a little tiny girl going outside early in the morning in the summertime and and just skipping around and playing. And I would always be singing something or humming. And I would keep on humming until the song sang me or the humming was humming me, meaning that I wasn't aware that I was actually doing it, but every now and then I would catch myself doing it and I'd have a big smile on my face and I would think, I really like this. I like to be like this. But it was something that was spontaneous that came to me naturally. And I've known so many people who, as young children, despite having really wonderful parents and a good upbringing, were not particularly happy. And I think that a lot of that comes from our expectations about what our lives are going to be like, and and the kinds of things that we want in our lives. We get into wanting lots of stuff, And we think that those kinds of things are going to make us really happy. And it isn't necessarily so. I want to share with you something that Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind textbook. It's on page 521 if you do have a copy of the text. And he wrote, "By some inner mystic presence, I was told to live and to love and to laugh and be glad. I was told to be still and know of the one almighty power in and through all. I was told to let that power work through and in me. I believed that voice and I received my good." Think about that. I believed that voice and I received my good. So it's really important to remember this power is within you and you are a powerful being and you get to use this power. The thing is, you have to be conscious of it. You have to be aware that it's there. You have to connect with it. You have to think about it. You have to spend some time thinking about it. And, as Ernest Holmes said, the door to happiness is always open. The question is, are we prepared to walk through it? And that's the big question. Is it easier to be dwelling upon something dreary or to be worrying about something, to be thinking about something else? And instead, we have to, again, remember that power and remember that you are divine at the center of your being. Divine at the center of your being. You are created in the image of the Most High, to use Dr. Holmes' words. Created in the image of God. We have all gone through life hearing about people who exist as if their cups are half empty or else their cups are half full. And certainly I have witnessed this in my own life and in my own family. I have two absolutely amazing daughters, and one of them was born with her cup half full and the other one half empty. And just to give you an example, and I may have shared this before, my elder daughter, when she started university, took a course in photography as an elective. And she said to me, I've got the toughest prof in the whole university with my photography course. And she said, I'm so grateful because I'm going to learn so much. And then my younger daughter started university and she was very interested in photography, actually became part of a career for her later on. And she had the same prof and she came home and she said, oh, just my luck. I have to get the tough one. It's the way that we look at life. Some have rose-colored glasses and some don't. But the question is, where is that line in your cup? Is it half full or is it half empty? And how are you going to fill it up right to the top so that it's brim full all of the time? We have to just keep remembering the truth of who we are. And we also have to realize that some kids are just born happier than others, and some people are happier than others, even though their circumstances might be the same. And we mustn't get critical about ourselves or about others for that, because we are all unique beings. But the thing is, we can do things to amp up our happiness reservoir. And I think that that's something that's really critical for us to do. And it's really important to be using our thoughts in a creative and happy way. We have signs at our center at the front of the room saying, change your thinking, change your life. And in fact, it does work. But it also takes work. It's not just as if we change a thought here or there and everything's going to be coming up roses. It's not the way that it works. We do have to mindfully develop our conscious awareness so that we understand how this power works within us and how it works all around us. And so when we're talking about changing our thoughts, there's a very useful way of doing this in our daily lives. And I came across this the other day. I've been reading Paul Levy's book, The Quantum Revelations. And of course, it's about quantum physics. But it's a very easy book to read. It's a very, very readable and important book. Dr. Jean Houston, who's a wonderful metaphysician, calls it one of the most important books that has ever been written. And she wrote the introduction to it. Excuse me. And of course, Jean Houston does all kinds of experiential exercises in the classes that she teaches and in the workshops that she teaches. And one of the things that she said, since she has been studying quantum physics now for many, many years and has written books about them as well, one of the things that she says that we really need to do if we want to be happier people is to remember a time when we were very happy. Now, it doesn't have to be years of time when we were very happy. It can be a happy moment or a happy 10 minutes, something in our lives that just made us feel joyful for whatever it was for a period of time. And again, she reminds us to remember that it is a period of time, that if we are unhappy, that it is a time. It's not something that has to go on forever. But to be happy, just remember that time when you experienced, over the moon happiness, or several times for that matter. And then don't just let it go. Sit with it for a while. Feel it again. Remember every detail about it. And don't just stop there. Do it every day for as long as it takes, that when you just think of that memory, immediately you feel the joy. And she said, what you are doing, again, is you're working on the quantum field. And when you're working on the quantum field, your thoughts, your feelings are creating more of the same thing that you are feeling. And so you're creating more happiness in your life. And she said, if you think about difficult times in your life, or select a difficult time, and then start thinking about how you could have felt happier, what that would have looked like, what had to change for you to be happier during that time. And then infuse it with happiness. See it as a different experience, even though you're making it up. See it as a different experience, because again, you're working on the quantum field. And when you're doing that, you're changing your thinking, you're changing your emotions, you're changing your feeling body. And again, that's where it all works. And so again, what you're doing is erasing the negativity from that experience so that you don't have to carry it around with you at a cellular level. The kinds of things that can make a person ill later in life, or the kinds of things that can just make you unhappy over and over and over again. Instead of dwelling on it, on whatever it happened to be, instead of always having it there, it enables us to release these things. So what a wonderful practice. I started doing it right away. I just closed the book and sat there and thought about it. An instant in my life where I was so happy on a given day that wherever I went, people, absolute strangers, said to me, "Are you always this happy?" Or, "That's the happiest smile I've ever seen." And when you start remembering an incident like that, everything begins to change. And what you'll find out is if you do it as a practice day after day for as long as it takes, you'll start to feel your own life changing in a happier way. And you'll find that happiness will be around you wherever you go. And life changes as a result, because what we focus upon expands. So if we are focusing upon happy thoughts and happy things, then we start attracting more and more happiness into our lives. So what we need to do is really be open to this. We need to have an open heart. And when we have an open heart and we allow joy to come in, and we allow ourselves to look at things that do make us happy, to have images in our minds that are happy, and that bring us contentment and the kind of peace of mind It's great. I mean, even think about being out in nature and watching a glorious sunrise or a glorious sunset and carry that image around with you when you want peace and contentment and quiet in your heart. It's such an amazing thing to do. And we all know, whether or not we participate in it, we all know that exercise is really important. Especially first thing in the morning. If you exercise, you get those happy endorphins going in your body, and things go better throughout the day. And it's the same thing with mindfulness, meditation, spending some time in the quiet, in the silence, allowing yourself to just be, emptying your mind. It takes practice as well. And I think I said a few weeks ago, you can start with 1 minute on the first day and 2 minutes on the second day and 3 on the third and so on until you work your way up to 15 or 20 minutes in the morning. And when you do that, your body starts to develop a memory of that peace and contentment. And in the beginning, you might feel quite rattled, but as you practice it, it's like anything else. You become really good at it. We don't just sit down at the piano and start playing a concerto. We take lessons, we practice, or it's the same thing with dance, with anything that we want to learn. It takes practice. Some things come more easily than others, but it's the practice, practice, practice that gets us there. And so think about those things. You know, the thing is that mindfulness, meditation are everything they are cracked up to be. Put that in your mind. Meditation is everything it's cracked up to be. Prayer is everything it's cracked up to be. I keep calling prayer talking to God and meditation listening to God. Listening for the answers, listening for direction, listening for that divine guidance. It's there because it is within each one of us. That's the power that's within each one of us. And sure, there are going to be moments when things come crashing down around us, when things don't feel so good, and that's okay. It may not be anything pretty, it may not be anything we like, but it is okay to be honest about it and to go through that time and to come out the other side stronger, and to know that you are going to come out the other side stronger, and that perhaps you've learned something about yourself as you went through it. But it doesn't have to be a place where you're going to live. You don't have to live in that that unhappy place, in that unhappy situation. Just keep cruising on through till you get to the other side. And remember to carry that image of happiness with you, whatever it is. You may have 2 or 3 of them, and go through them all if you need to do that. If you're going through a day where things just don't feel as good as you'd like them to, it's a powerful, powerful practice. And because you've practiced it so well, you can find happiness in even the most unhappy places. And so it is. So thank you for being here today. And if this message is meaningful for you, and if you would care to make a donation to our center, you can do that online at www.cslvictoria.org, or you can send an e-transfer to donate@cslvictoria.org, and you will receive a tax receipt for your contribution. You'll receive that tax receipt in February of the following year, and know that you are helping to support a really wonderful work that is helping a lot of people. So I just want you to know how much we appreciate that. And if you should need prayer, if you feel the need for prayer for anything that's going on in your life, feel free to contact us. Again, it's prayer@cslvictoria.org. And we have a group of ministers and a practitioner who would be very, very happy to pray for you. And we have a team that will pray for you consistently. Just know that, because it's what we're all about. That's where we find our joy and our happiness in giving back. So I do thank you for being with us today, and hope we'll see you again. And remember that little boy singing, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Check it out right now if you have the chance to do it. It will make you smile. make you grin from ear to ear. Thanks again. See you soon. And hope to see you in person.